Today I'm going to talk about Heavy Weapons Guy. I know the format is slightly different than the previous videos, but it's mainly because I didn't want to go through planning and setting everything up on the stream. So I'm going to quickly go over some heavy weapon positional things. Personally, I think positioning on a heavy is more important than aim. If you position yourself well, then you should be able to get the same amount of kills. Of course, having aim makes you another tier better. That's why you can see like Neon has very good positioning and very good aim, which makes him probably the best heavy in the game at the moment in 2021, end of 2021. So positioning wise, I'll go through a couple of maps just to kind of go through my thought processes and positioning and how to work together to make sure that you get the best results. So for Siege, since we're starting out here, generally speaking, Siege is pretty basic. You just shoot left and right when the flag is on relay. Always save your Merv when you die, because you want to pre-prime your Merv as soon as possible, or as close. If you think you're gonna die, you should prime your Merv, and then toss it. Never leave it on the ground. If you can't toss it, try to get into a better position that it hinders the other team or the opponents. But use your grenades, I would say frequently, as much as possible, because generally speaking, the mindset is if you're playing heavy, you're gonna die in 2 runs. So 2 waves of offense. If they DM you, you're probably gonna die in 2 runs. At most 3 runs. That's generally how I think about it. I shouldn't live more than 3 waves of offense. So, first things first, always rev your gun. Positioning wise, I always stick close to this, I guess, column or pillar. Mainly because the one thing very strong about this column is that it blocks some nade damage, which is very nice, because as you can see, if the offense is shooting at you and they toss a nade right in that corner, you don't take any damage. I could even stand a bit closer. Like right there. You don't take any damage. So it's always good to keep yourself close to the wall, because they're going to be DMing you, and they're going to try and land a nade as close as possible to you. And sometimes it just ends up in that corner, and you could probably dodge a lot of damage. The second thing is you don't want to die. Every time you die, you have a chance of spawning far. So never try to die. Always try to dodge nades. If someone's DMing you from, let's say, ramp, I would just jump to water and let them double conk. I mean, you have a better trace angle like this. It's much easier. Whereas if you're close, you're going to take damage, and the trace angle is much harder. Personally, for me, I don't have great aim, but I try to make it as easy as possible as for me. See, this is much easier, much shorter. Always trying to stay up top. Don't let the offense take your bag. That bag gives you a ton of health. Very low armor, but a ton of health. Try to get armor from the engineer. That's how you stay alive for more than 2 waves. If you can stay alive as much as possible with that bag, I think this bag is 45 seconds. 30 seconds or 45, I forget. But try to take not that much damage as possible. Other than that, always play in front of the flag. You have a soldier, generally, I think the new meta is standing on the flag, but if the flag goes whichever way, you want to go and stand in front of it. So soldier's going to watch behind, you're watching in front. And you just keep moving with the flag, moving in front and front. The reason why you want to move in front is because if the soldier dies, they're going to try and move it forward. Even if they get some sort of distance, they still have to figure out how to beat you. You also get a lot of free damage in the front because they're going to try and DM you. That's pretty much it for Siege. Any other tricks and tips? Not really. It's really just positioning. A lot of times I like to stay as close as possible to the walls, because if you think about how the enemy conks, they're going to try and loop in as close as possible to the wall because it's faster and you get more speed. If they loop around you, that's they will lose some speed depending on how they angle their conks. So always trying to stay close to the wall so they can't get through. And then if you see nades or you see them DMing you, pull out your quick switch to your shotgun. It cancels the rev and puts you back at full speed. And then just back up. Because even if they try to DM you, you just want to take as few damage, waste their nades. That's kind of the goal of heavy. Okay, now we're at Stop. Stop is, I think a lot of people know how to play heavy on Stop. It's very aim heavy, which there isn't really a ton of good positional spots for you to play. It's really just try to deal as much damage as possible and try to stop them. It's aim heavy, very aim heavy map. So starting out, I like to prime 2 nades. I count in my head about 5 seconds. Generally, it takes them about 7 seconds to get to the front door. So from spawn to front door is about 7 seconds. So I try to prime it at about 4 seconds after I spawn, and hopefully get the scout. That's kind of the goal. You could prime in the early game or the early mode. You could prime your Merv. Generally, I prime my Merv if the first wave is clear. Let's say the first wave, the rush wave, they don't get the button. Then I would use my Merv, generally to block that slide right there. But if they get the button on the first run, then I would just save my Merv. I would save my Merv and just play it in front of this, front of the flag room. This is a very difficult spot because they could generally conk past you, and it's very hard to kind of like, if you see like the amount of movement you need to kind of track people. It's very difficult. So what I like to do is I like to play on the ramp. So alright, roll to the blue base. Okay, so how this works with the blue base. How I would like to play is, let's say the flag is there. I generally just want to play on the right side on this wall. The reason why is usually the gun is here, here, or somewhere on this side. It's very rare on that side, so you want to block the medics walking up, and it gives you an easier trace. The distance that you have to trace is much easier. So positionally wise, I like this because I don't have the best aim, but this trace angle is much easier than this trace angle. As you can see, it requires more mouse movement, but this is much easier. And it allows you to look at the bat side. So generally I would just stand right here. I would jump because you can kind of see their heads there when someone is double conking there. You just want to play right here and try to eat up as many nades as possible. And then if they're nading you, you can always back up. And when the switch is going up, always kill yourself while holding a Merv. Of course, if you're full HP when the switch is coming up, just you don't have to kill yourself, but you just continue and play on the ramp for a wave. If they don't get the button, then you can move from the door. You kind of want to make sure that you're close to the door on that wave when they have a chance of getting the button. If they don't, then you can kind of move front door. So once the flag is in this area, so once it's tossed out in this area, you play right here. The reason why you want to play right here is because you can see enemies incoming here. It helps protect the gun and the demo, or the demo over there. It gives it kind of like a front line HW guy, and you'll die a lot, but the goal is to create easier trace angles right here. course, it's not amazingly easy on this side, but it protects the gun. That's the main thing. You want to protect the gun. You want them to go around to get the gun. Next is once it's getting closer to the ramp, always move forward. I like to play this angle. The reason why I play this angle is it forces it, because usually they want to ramp slide and then hit the ramp like right here. Like they want to come, offense players want to come in and ramp slide it or try to get into it that way. So playing right here blocks them from doing that very easy ramp slide in, right? They'd have to like rotate around here, and then that gives the demo more time to kind of prep if they are going to come out or if they're going to conk out. Same thing, once the flag is on the ramp, I just move a bit forward, still playing against this wall to block that conk. And then once it's like on the lower, then I would just play right here. Same thing against this wall. Of course, this is much harder because they're gonna be ramp sliding and ramp slide over you, but you just want to try your best to kind of time your jumps to block them. And then when the flag comes in, then you just play in the yard. I mean, there's not much. You might get conked into the yard or conked into the water. Not much you can really do. You can try and crouch, but it's a very difficult situation if they're really good with your conks. Just make sure you don't jump. I think that's pretty much for stop. Alright, Phantom. Phantom Heavy is one of the harder heavies to play, just because it's such a chaotic map. Offense comes in really quickly, Demo Man is always in trouble, and you have to protect the Demo Man. So there's two ways of playing heavy. There's one that you stand right here, and the other one in the back wall. I'm not a fan of the back wall because it pretty much gives this ramp slide and this angle free. Like if the medic is waiting here, the only thing you can really stop them is with a nade, because they can just sit here and then jump and nail and throw a nade at the gun, or if the gun's here. It's easier to aim if they're just flying in, but if they're using this ramp well, they could just kind of take their time unless you have a nade. So I like to play right here. It also allows me to support the button whenever they need to. So how I play is I just play right here, close to this wall, and if they are they're ramp sliding up, I just kind of follow them like this. It's a very smooth follow. Sometimes you have to aim a little bit up, but the tracing is very smooth. And if they come DM you, the one thing with this ramp is that there's a clip right there. If they're DMing here, they're trying to roll nades up. Sometimes it'll roll up, but if they don't toss it correctly, it might fall off, or it might clip onto this and then just stay right here. So what you want to do is, it's very hard to land a nade right here. So whenever I see a nade rolling up, I just dodge it. It's fine if they kind of it's fine if they see you dodge it and they try to walk through this way. This is a much easier spot for the gun to track, and it's harder for the medics to actually take down the gun from here. It gives you time to kind of kill them as well. So I would dodge it, let them do whatever they want. If they want to conk in, that's fine, but take as less damage as possible. Once the nade explodes, stand right here to check this area if they're hiding against that back wall, or if they're running up the ramp. I would just try to block this position, kind of using this ramp as well as possible, and then positioning myself away from nades. And if they're just trying to nail the gun, you could just get a free kill right there. If the switch soldier says like one switch, I would just turn my back but keep myself against this wall so they can't ramp side it, and just trace as much as possible or clean up. If there's two or more switch, then I would just stand right here and then help the switch soldier clear up some stuff. You want to stand on this angle because generally it's easier for the medics to stick to the right wall, this wall right here, to slide in. It's a much easier angle, it's more consistent. So if you stand right there, it blocks them. Some people can do it in the middle. You can stand in the middle and try to block both the left side and the middle side. Generally, I like to do this because it gives me one jump away from here, like that, much quicker. Um, Once the flag is slidable, that's when it gets a little tough. You kind of have to rotate between behind, depending if the gun is up, and playing right here. You want to protect the demo. So I like to play right here. Gives me this angle right here, and I can see if anyone's coming bats. But if there's nothing in the flag room, and someone calls back way, I just play right here. Stick to this wall. Try to clear us as much as possible, and then if you're about to die, just leave a move. When flag is on this flat, generally you could play right here to cover both sides. Gun's usually going to be there, so they'll call back way, and it helps you cover both the back way and the bat side and the stairs. So it gives you a lot more timing. And then the front door soldier, if the soldier still plays front door, then you have to play like this and cover multiple shots. But if the soldier plays in the back, then you can move up here or even here. There's multiple places that you can move. This bat side is very strong because if they try to nade you, you could try and jump back and hope that the nades falls down, kind of like that. Gives you more space to move around. And also always try to rev and quick switch or fast switch, whatever you call it. It gives you time to rev and gives you the movement that you need. And then if the flag is down there, if the soldier plays bats, you play front. If the soldier plays front, then you play generally right here. When it's on the cap point, it gets really hard. It becomes a spam fest. So it just depends how you work with your soldier. And that's pretty much it. I think the back ramp side, same thing. You kind of want to if they're trying to cause chaos, just try to stand in front of the flag. It's very difficult because they could just conk up because just high ceilings. But yeah, this is a tough heavy map. That's it for Phantom. So heavy on open fire. Open fire is one of the to me personally, I think open fire heavy is really annoying to play because there's so many walls around everywhere and you have to kind of protect your demo as well. So it's just a very annoying map. So I think everyone knows the gist of how to play heavy on this map. I'll just quickly go through it. So your main objective is just to stop as much water, or at least try to deal as much damage as possible so that it's easier for the demo to dead. Even like a straight pipe can kill them. But one of the key things is a lot of demo or a lot of medics, they'll try to conk to the left and right. So if they conk up there, you're kind of forced to play right here. But how I do it is I try to jump as back as possible against this wall, because if they try to jump back here, then I know I could just shoot. It's a much quicker angle to switch here, because if you're jumping close like here, then they could just jump one here and then jump onto the other side. But if you're jumping back like right here, it's much easier to look and it gives you more angle to trace them. So always go like that, jump back. Same thing on this side. That's kind of the goal of the heavy, right? To just trace like that. You want to do as few jumps as possible to get into a good position to deal damage, basically. There's going to be a lot of team damage just because that's just how the map works. If you spawn far, there's not much you can really do. You can just listen to comms, and if they're coming water a lot, then depending on where the flag is, you can come through bats. Generally, I would go through just the main way. Um, But you wanna avoid the medics while you're getting back into position because they can infect you or they could deal damage to you, and when you get back to position, you're dead again. Um, I want to avoid the medics as much as possible or try to pot shot them so I don't take too much damage. Uh, I don't think there's any other tricks that people don't know. Rest of heavy is pretty straightforward on open fire. Frybait. Frybait is one of my favorite heavy maps to play just because there's so much little neat little tricks that you can do to kind of make it easier for yourself. So, uh, starting off, till the gun is level 3, you want to play up top right here. Either side works. I prefer this right side a little bit better or more because the dark side, they can get one jump and then toss a nade with nails on the flag. Uh, and that are not on the flag on the SG, and the SG goes down. This side is a little bit better, just because they're forced to nail it and gives the soldier more time to kind of repair, and gives you more time to kind of help out. So let's say the SG is up on right here. Once the SG is up, that soldier doesn't have to play elevator. When the gun is level 3 and up, that soldier plays at light, but when it's down, plays LE. For heavy, when the gun is up, I usually like to play right here. Gives me a view of right here, and I could stop the spy from jumping out. Easier angle. It's usually like, you just have to trace up and then trace down. That's kind of like the general, and then if you need, you could just follow like that. It's much easier to trace like this. You could also play on this side. This works as well. It's closer to dark. Depending on if which soldier has more trouble, you can help out on each side. And you could basically stop as much as you can from the elevator. The reason why is this whole defense is reliant on the gun. So if the gun goes down, then you're gonna have more trouble. If the gun stays up, then you can hold pretty well, I would say. One of the things that people like to do is they could throw a conch, I think at the T, roughly at the T of the elevator area. That will conch the heavy up, so if the flag's on the floor, they throw a conch, ride the elevator, touch the flag, get a toss into light elbow, or hold another conch and conch out dark or whatever. But if you stand on the, I think it's the third step. Generally, I just stand on the fourth one just to be, uh, just in case. But if you stand on the fourth step, the conch doesn't hit you. So little trick there. You could also stand on, or you could hug the ladder. I don't really like it. I think ladders are pretty shitty in this game. So gives you, sometimes it just screws up your movement. So this is much better to me. It also allows you to kind of dodge nades depending on where the nades are coming. So like the nade, they're trying to hit you and they throw a nade there. You just drop and that will protect you. If they try to toss it into the pit, you just crouch. Crouching is very good for dodging nades. You could crouch and it won't hit you. And same thing here. You don't want to jump here because it limits your space, but crouching here is good. Dropping here is good. And then take the bag whenever possible. Your main job is to protect that SG. Other than that, I think the rest is pretty straightforward. Once the flag starts moving either dark or light, you always want to stand near a corner and in front of the flag. So the flag is right there. You want to stand here at this corner, let that soldier cover the flag, and you could cover as much as possible. So you don't want to stand here. I know this is much easier. People can get free shots, but you're not really dealing that much more damage, right? You want to stand right here to block them. And if they peek out to try to throw nades, if they throw nades, I would usually jump forward at them. Because they're usually timing it so that it lands like somewhere in this area. But if you jump forward, it's there and you might take some damage, but not too much. So gives you better position and lets you see more of what's coming. Yeah, and if the flag is moved toward the elbow onto the light side, then you kind of have to play like right here. There's not much. You just have to wait for them to toss it into this area and then just keep playing forward like that. Keep moving forward, close to the flag so you can support the soldier. Um, that's pretty much it. The only one thing that I would say that where you have to play on flag is on the ramp. Um, and the soldier has to play front door. It's easier for the soldier to get to that area than you because you're slow. Um, but once the flag is on the ramp, I generally like to play bottom ramp. I mean, you can play on the flag as well, but you're kind of blind to both sides because there's that soldier would have to like look at all three sides and kind of help you cover. If you play right here, kind of helps you get some information, not too hard of traces as well. And if they conk up and toss it down, that's fine because you want to play. You want the flag to be at the bottom ramp. You don't want to be on the ramp because they could just ramp slide it. You want to force them to toss it, or at least toss it in a position where it's easier for you to defend. Same thing. Just keep moving on the flag. Once the flag gets to the front door, then you can choose to reset. The NG's having trouble, or you keep following it. Dark side, I think dark side is the same. Just keep moving, playing against close to the angle of the walls. You want them to hit that side, or you could play on this side and have an easier trace. Just what is easier for you. But this side, I like to play this side because I like to block this wall and force them to kind of ramp slide around. That's pretty much it for Fry Baked. Next, I'm going to talk about Sidon. I think a lot of people don't like Sidon that much. Because it's either very defensive or this snowball effect, which definitely there is a huge snowball effect, especially on this map. It's sometimes if you're not resetting properly, you do get chain capped. But I'll give some tips and tricks to kind of help out. I mean, like the whole team has to work together to reset on this map. Um, but as a heavy, you can definitely help out in some way. So normal position is right here. You're really just trying to stop them from coming into the T area. They'll usually just conk up like that. It's very hard to trace. Or they'll come up from the top and throw nades at you. If you see someone coming up top throwing nades, I would just back up and just play right here. Or you can play on this side. You can't really see that door, so I like playing on this side because this conk right here is a little more dangerous, so I want to protect that. If they're DMing on the right side, that's fine. Gives you a little bit more time because if they are DMing, you could just play right here and then just help out. But if they're throwing nades, you just want to kind of stand right here. And then once they're done, jump back, get another shot. They're usually going to prime another. They do. Back up right here. Now, if they're flooding top and they're not really coming T, you want to play like right here. This area. This kind of helps support the Y, forces them to that side, which is they can only get tosses if they conk into the flag. Stops them from getting a huge distance on the flag. And it also allows you to kind of help out top. So you want to play here, but don't tunnel vision to only shoot or look at top. You kind of want to just if a medic is if a medic is up there pounding top and the demo and the NG really need help, then you can play on the ramp to kind of help out. But you want to stay here because you need vision at this T because right now it's completely open, and you don't want a medic to kind of blindside you and get a conk on you and get the flag out. So I like to play right here. And you could also support water. So you could also see them jump through right there. Once the flag is down, I mean, depending on how set up the defense is in the flag room, you can move forward if it's very set up, or you pretty much have to like kind of play right here and kind of support. If the flag is on the floor, you stick here. If the flag is going up top, you always want to play behind it. So let's say that the flag is on this ramp. You don't really have to do much. You can stay right there. But the flag is like right here. Then I would say you would want to play on this ramp and just guard any conks coming up here. and cover this. That's kind of your job right here, is to cover this whole area, because you have better range than a soldier guarding from behind. If it goes through T, you just want to move in front of the flag. If it's going through that way, now's the time where you just stay right here. You just take as much nades as possible, try to block them, be as fat as possible, and not let them get through here. And then if you think you're gonna die, just hold a Merv. And then if you die, leave the Merv there, and then you'll spawn back. This is a quick spawn back. Once the flag is in this area becomes very hard for the heavy to do anything, because there's so many trace angles that you have to kind of get that it's tough. What I like to do is I just play close to this wall right here, and then if they go through the far end, I would try and help out as much as possible. If they come close end, you want to kind of guard this close end. You don't want them to get through the air here, because usually the demo is hiding over here or over there, or in the T. This is a much easier angle for them to come in. The far end, I mean, it's hard, but you have to try your best. Maybe jump a little bit closer, like here. If not, come back to this front door area. You're just trying to give calm so that demo knows what to do. That's pretty much it for Sidon. There isn't a lot of tricks other than moving back, but it's very hard to defend once the flag is out. And of course, if you are feeling that snowball effect, just play in the flag room until the defense is a little bit more set up and stable. That's it for Sidon. Alright, high flag. High flag is generally it's a very fast-paced map. The enemy can get back into your base within 10 seconds, and you just have to try and stop as many people as possible. One of the conks that a lot of people like to do is a route right here. You can conk up into the flag and get to the top, like, roof area. So your job is to kind of hold that area as best as you can. It's very hard. It kind of requires you to play up here and then moving down to here sometimes, because sometimes if you're not tracing well when you're down here, they can just take 2 jumps and then jump and then get to the flag. So playing down here is tough. Playing up here is tough because you might not get enough damage, and the trace is much harder. Generally, how I like to play it is I play close to this top ramp right here. The reason why I play here is I get a little bit more damage because I'm closer to them. And one of the things that a lot of medics like to do is if you throw a conk right there or on this ramp, you can actually get conked all the way back to the backside of the flag room. Can't avoid it 100% of the time, but you want to try to mitigate it. So standing around here, that bottom conk doesn't hit you. Of course, if they roll it and it hits like right there, you could always try to get close to it so that it doesn't conk you back. So it gives you a little bit more options to move around. But you want to avoid that conk. And of course, you could just move back and forth like this to try and get as much damage as possible. There's not too much change with how the heavy weapons plays. It's a very track heavy map, so you really have to trace. It's a good map to practice tracing. And one of the things that you can keep in mind is with nades, it takes about 10 seconds. I guess how fast, depending on how fast the scout is. Scout probably takes about 7 seconds, and medics take about 10 to 15 depending on whether they hold a conk from their front door or not. So you can kind of time it in your head a little bit, looking at the death messages, counting. I usually add like a couple of 2 seconds onto it before I hold my nade. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I would hold a nade. And then if I see the scout, then I would toss it backwards to try to hit him right there. If I don't see the scout yet, then I would just try to roll the nade slowly. Kind of stop them like that way. And if they DM you, you could always back up use this wall to kind of dodge the damage. Sometimes the nades will roll up, not much you can do, but if it doesn't, then you don't take any free damage, and you can continue tracing. Let them waste the nades on you. Not much to say about heavy. I mean, you have to cover the backside if required, but your main focus is to stop that, or stop as much as possible you can for a free conk from front. Oh wait, Raiden. This is the last map I'll talk about. So Raiden, you could play heavy or demo. I know a lot of people like demo on this map. It's a lot of fun with demo. But I'll talk about the heavy version and how you play it. So for the heavy, I like to stand on this lip right here. If both soldiers are alive, I would stand on this lip. Gives you more, basically a little bit more forward so that you can deal more damage. But of course, if you hear back way, then I would just drop and stand right here. Or you can stand on the back wall, but this is a bit easier because you'll get probably conked left or right back into the flag. If you're here, I mean, you could stand here as well. You just have to keep pre-firing at this window as much as possible and hopefully kill whoever is coming up. But I like to stand right here because I could still see, I get information from those three sides. Right here, you can't really see it. You can, I guess, but I mean, depends on how you want to play it. So I stand right here. But if, let's say one of the soldiers is dead, let's say that a T soldier is dead. The T soldier is dead, I would pre-step myself or pre-position myself right here. Because generally they'll try to ramp slide up here or they'll conk into the window here. If they conk into the window, you just want to try and move as quickly as possible to the left and try to block them. But if they ramp slide, this gives you an easy avenue to kind of block them if the gun is down. If top is down, then I would kind of move up the ramp right here, depending on the communication. Let's say that top soldier is down, but bottom soldier is up, then I would move up the ramp. If both soldiers are down, I would usually call for help. Just tell them to back up once they get back into the position, because you're trying to survive as long as possible. So depending on who's alive and who's dead, you can kind of maneuver a little bit around this area. If you're almost dead, you could take these two bags. The one trick that I would say is whenever you take one bag, that's 50 cells. So definitely toss after picking up each bag. So that's 100 cells right there for the engineer. Once the flag is on the floor in this area, you really just have to kind of, I watch back way. Like, I just stare at back way. Because I'll have comms coming from this way, but back way, the soldiers might miss it. Or if someone's sneaky. So I usually look at back way just to make sure that nothing is coming. But of course, if bottom soldiers are down, then let's say that the flag is at this like square, this rectangle right here. You always want to move behind the flag. People like to move in front of it, but if you're not 100% in front of it while they conk, they can actually scoop it like right next to you. They could touch it and then just get past you. So I usually like to stand right there so at least I know where the flag is and I'm shooting through the flag, kind of like that. Gives me some leeway, I guess. If the flag moves closer to the T, then just play against this wall. If they're tossing nades here, just kind of sidestep it to dodge damage, take the bags when necessary. And same thing when the flag's in T on either side, you just want to play like this. And if they're tossing nades, just kind of back up into the flag. Try to take as less damage as possible. It doesn't matter if you don't see them coming in. You can if you like get that right angle so you can see. But generally, if they're tossing nades in, and there's another medic trying to get in, that nade's going to hit that medic, either killing him or like stopping their momentum. So it's fine to sidestep it. They're not going to throw a nade and then try to touch the flag. It's very difficult to time it. I mean, you can do it as a medic. You kind of like toss a nade, then run into your nade and then just spam toss it. That's a technique that sometimes I do, but it's very hard depending on how the heavy plays. Like if the heavy doesn't care about taking damage, then that doesn't work, right? But if the heavy likes to avoid damage as much as possible, that is a way that you can get the flag with, and then also killing yourself, and hopefully dealing some damage to the heavy. Once the flag comes into this area, I mean, you just have to try your best, right? There's too many angles, too many entrances. There's water, two sides, and then if top is open, that whole top area is open, and then that opens up the back way. So you really just have to like try your best at this point. Um, I know some soldiers like to play on the flag run here, and then if they do, then just play on one of the sides. I mean, you're just basically switching spots with the soldier. And then once the flag gets into this front respawn, I like to stand close to this wall, because once they hit that ramp slide, the angle that they are forced to come in is close to this wall. It's very hard to conk in and then land like right here with full speed and then having another conk ready. I mean, you would have to go really high up for a conk. Hitting that ramp at that speed while also priming immediately so that once you land, you'll have a conk ready. Generally, the easier way is just to block this area. And, I mean, it's an easier trace. It's a straight line. Or, because they'll usually, if they hit that area right there, that's a little bit harder, but that angle right there is harder for the hit as well. And you have a gun right there. If they go to the other side, soldiers usually helping out, but you just want to mainly stand in front of the flag. Oh, if the flag is going up top. So top is tough because it takes you forever to get up top. So once you get up top, you just want to play on the flag. I mean, or play near this door. Usually the two soldiers will cover the front and back, or if one of the soldiers covers there, then you kind of have to play like this. But generally the soldiers should be covering both sides and then letting you kind of roam. You could roam like here, help shoot that way, help cover that. You want to force them to toss nades there so that you could sidestep it. But yeah, pretty much it. That's all for Raiden. So that's pretty much for heavy. I covered a couple maps. If you're looking for tips and tricks on a certain map, I can help out with that and make another video with that. But I think as heavy, I mean, really it's just trying to, for me at least, is trying to find positions where you could force the enemy to go into certain, or certain like trajectories that is easier for you to trace while also blocking them so that they can't just run up. And then always holding a Merv right before you die. Even if you're not sure if you're gonna die, you could just always hold it and try to cover however much you can. Nothing is perfect. You just have to kind of understand it, but takes a little bit more experience to figure that out. The one thing that I would say that you probably should work on is kind of the Rev Jumping. It gives you like maybe like a couple more seconds quicker to shoot. But yeah, and it helps you kind of move. Like let's say you're shooting already, but you need to jump over to that door. Just quick switch it, and that'll help you kind of move better. It's a little trick that I use. The next thing is trying to dodge as much damage. The more nades you can waste, that you can force the medics to waste, the less damage you take and the less damage your teammates take. That's pretty much it. Thanks.